go ahead and start talking, and hopefully Vajra will be able to join us. So let's tell me more. I'm going to start the show properly in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit about heart coherence, because maybe some heart coherence would help here to make the internet work better. You have to unmute yourself.
Absolutely. Well, hi everybody, and thank you so much for being here and for coming. And heart coherence is actually a really amazing way of just resonating into the field, and it would actually probably be really helpful for us all to do that, and for multiple reasons, even just to arrive in sacred space across time and space together. So I'll walk us through actually the steps of heart coherence if we'd like, just really briefly, and then I can share more about it as we figure out the rest of some of the technology. So if you feel comfortable to close your eyes, wherever you are, seated, laying down. I'm in my car, you might be in your office or your living room, just taking a few nice easy breaths, allowing your belly to go soft, just allowing gravity and earth to work in our favor here. Connecting down through our roots. And so the heart coherence process is really beautiful. It's simultaneously simple and very profound. It involves 3 simple steps. So step 1 is a heart focus. I like to take my right hand and place it on my heart. And this step is really just about bringing awareness to the heart, connecting the mind and the heart, those energies together. And from the tradition of the feminine, the way that I think about it is rethroning the heart. So we bring the heart back into her seat as the queen. The mind is the trusted advisor. One of my teachers taught me that. Mind is trusted advisor, heart is the queen. So this heart focus is just the awareness, checking in with how our heart is doing. And then step 2 is heart breathing. So we take big deep breaths in and out of the heart. So imagine that your heart is a balloon or a lung in your chest, and think about breathing air into the heart on the inhale. So your heart grows and expands as you breathe air in. And then on your exhale, heart returns to its natural size and natural shape, just expelling air out of the heart. And the idea is to really feel like you're breathing in and out of the heart. And then for step 3, we actually continue with the heart breath and the heart breathing. We step into a place of heart feeling. So connecting with a memory or a person who brings up in us a feeling of joy or peace or compassion or love, one of those really high frequency emotions. And so with the heart breath going, we just feel ourselves really feel that feeling in the heart. Be completely surrounded by it, completely immersed in it. Sometimes this step brings me to the verge of really joyful tears, really breathing into the heart and feeling that really lovely, sweet spot. And so as you feel complete and perhaps a little less anxious, scattered, whatever it is that was happening before, we just come back into this space, and I thank you all for participating in that.
Thank
opening your
you.
eyes if you feel ready. Thank you.
That was lovely, and I'm going to go ahead and start the show. And if Vajra can join us, she join us. If not, we'll have to have her on another evening. This is the 11th edition of Stepping Into Ourselves, a gathering of priestesses. I want to welcome you. I welcome you through all the technical difficulties we may be having. GoToWebinar is down, and apparently has been down for about an hour and will not be back up in time for us tonight. And luckily I haven't placed my entire dependence upon one source, so we're going to do the Google Hangout. We have with us Breyn Hibbs from Eugene, Oregon, and she has just led us through an absolutely beautiful heart coherence exercise. She's given us, is that the same as the gift you gave us?
Yes, that is a similar, the gift is a little bit longer than that, but and allows more time in each of the steps, but yes.
Okay, so if some of you are having trouble in that your programs are buffering as opposed to playing smoothly, if you'll move your mouse up to the top of the screen where you can see me right now, you'll see some little icons there. And the fourth one over, the one between the camera and the one that looks like a gear, is called Adjust Bandwidth Usage. And you can click on that and you can shut down the bandwidth, and what it'll do is it'll take fewer frames. It'll be more like we used to watch whenever we had 15 frame per minute videos. So hopefully that'll help you out if you're having that problem. Hopefully you're not. Apparently there is something going on in the internet or in the ethers, or who knows, in the world. We've had such a world this last week that it's really, we need priestesses. We need the goddess. And of course, I want to talk about the fact that we are doing this in honor of the book, Stepping Into Ourselves, an anthology of the writings on priestesses, which is from Goddess Inc. And Ann Key is back in the country now. And so she's going to be on next week with Susan Weed. But you can buy this at goddessinc.com, goddess-inc.com, and if you put in the words summer 2014 to 2014, you will get a 15% discount on either the ebook or on the physical book. And I hope you'll buy it. It's a lovely book. It's got great writings in there. It's got the beautiful women that you see on this show, including our lovely guest tonight, Breyn. And so before we go any further, I do have to mention the passing of one of our elders, Gloria, the creator and mother and creatrix, I guess you should say, of Isis Oasis, which is a wonderful place in Geyserville, California. Passed away night before last. She passed away in her sleep, and she was an incredible woman. She had a refuge there for wild cats, and I mean not kitty cats. I'm talking about tigers and other kind of cats. And she also had an incredible temple there and provided a space for people to come and be in the presence of the goddess. And now we know she is in the presence of the goddess, and we send her off with our heartfelt thanks that she was here and willing to stay this long. So, having moved on from that, and we are probably going to do a slightly shortened show tonight since we've had to really move things around here. But Bree, you know, your name is interesting. Every time I type it in, it wants me to change it to Bryn Mawr. Uh, did you get named after the institution, or did that just happen somewhere along the way?
I did. My aunt's name on my mom's side is actually Breyn without an E, and so I'm named, and she was named after Bryn Mawr College for Women, and my mom named me after my aunt Bryn, changed it to Brian, and added Mar as my middle name. So indirectly, yes, I was named after the college.
Well, did you go there?
I did not go there. Neither did anybody else in my family, but my grandma had this wish, I think, and hope that somebody along the way would make it there, and nobody has yet, but maybe someday.
Well, maybe you'll make it there as a teacher. Uh, you can always try that one. So I know that you have a yoga studio, I believe, and you also do some work up there in Eugene. But tell me, what drew you to the path of the priestess?
Well, I love these kinds of gatherings, and just gatherings of women. I feel like we all have so many kind of hands and arms and legs in so many different places. So this is actually a really beautiful opportunity for me to introduce you all to an organization called Shakti Rising. The women's, sort of on the outside, it's a women's leadership organization outside of San Diego. And more formally on the inside, though, it's definitely a priestessing and a mystery school. And so I found myself there initially volunteering and was later hired on as staff. And through just being involved there, I was reminded of this path and reminded that I have made just many promises many times to come back and to do this at this time on the planet now as a woman, and really having a lot of just a lot of gratitude for the women there and for the work that they're doing. And I'm still connected to that organization, but they're really the ones who opened my heart and my soul to the path of the priestess and what that means for women leaders today on the planet.
So how are you expressing that in the wilds of Eugene, Oregon?
I actually live in Bend, but Eugene is a lovely place as well.
Eugene, I know how you can do it. You could have gone to the country fair.
Eugene is an awesome and very ripe place as well. So yeah, in Bend, my formal roles, I guess, are that I'm a yoga teacher. I'm also a Reiki practitioner and a Reiki master. My path as a licensed awakened heart healing healer and a practitioner within that tradition just recently started, actually, but I'm on the facilitation team and the trainer team for that as well. So my formal roles take, like I said, a couple of different avenues. What I know is that one of my contributions is as a teacher and as a facilitator. I don't know what it is about teaching and facilitating. I'm definitely not an expert. I wouldn't consider myself an expert in many of the things that I teach, but what I have is an extreme passion and ability to really create experiences for people and communicate different things about meditation or heart coherence or yoga in a way that people can really understand. It's a gift that I've really been learning to try to and attempting to use my voice in different ways and really, describing things in ways that that people are really responding to. And so that takes a lot of different forms in my life at this point, but that's kind of what I'm exploring right now.
Well, tell us more about what you mean by using your voice to explore.
Oh, you kind of cut out, Gloria. It might be my computer. What was the question?
So tell us more about what you mean by using your voice to explore.
Well, the way that I talk about it oftentimes is, so the yoga room, teaching yoga, for example, is one of the places where I feel like I'm the most present. And as I think of myself as somebody who's an ongoing beginner and learner of energy, what seems to be really true is that in the yoga room, I have, it's the place where I have the deepest sense of the energy in the room. from mine, including other people's. And so what I'm learning is to actually translate what is happening in the energetic field into words in a way that helps people move through a yoga pose, or move deeper into a meditation, or move deeper into an experience of their own souls. And so that translation for me has happened, as I said, through my path as a yoga teacher, but I'm starting to be able to develop, or I'm starting to develop that skill in other areas. And as I said, really learning how to communicate what's happening at an energetic level for myself and for other people, communicate that in words in a way that helps people not only understand, but also have an experience of it. So speaking to it from the purpose of encouraging others to deepen into an experience. And I'm definitely not a master, as I said, like in lots of areas of life, but like I said, the yoga room and facilitating yoga is really has been a playground for me, and has really taught me a lot.
Yeah. So has yoga been a path for you for some time, or is that something that came with the priestess path?
Yoga as a practice has been a part of my life for quite some time. Embodiment in general has always, I mean, before I even knew about priestessing, I definitely have connected really strongly with my body. I grew up dancing competitively, and yoga was a form of deepening into my practice as a dancer. It wasn't until about 4 years ago that I became interested in becoming a yoga teacher, and that all culminated actually around the same time that I started volunteering and working at Shakti Rising. And so some of those paths in some ways happened simultaneously.
Well, I just, I know that for some people, yoga is very much of a physical, particularly, I live down here near Encinitas. So almost everybody does yoga of one kind or another. And some of them, it's a very physical thing. It's not, they don't see it as being a ritual or a religious opportunity. I studied with a woman from Tibet who her comparison was that Americans treat yoga like it's the glass, where it's really what you fill in the glass. And her thing is that, it's not all about the physical. So, I understand that, it can be, it's wonderfully relieving to be able to move and to move through the motions, but it is the spiritual connection that I think actually makes it something far, far more. Now, I am not a yoga teacher. I don't pretend to be one, and I defer to you on that explanation.
You cut out again right at the end of your question. What was it?
Oh, I defer to you as to describing how yoga is a spiritual path.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, as you are moving into this new phase of your life, I mean, you're basically moving into the teaching and the studio and becoming the next level. What is it that you see for yourself as the main thing you want to go into? Did you hear me?
Yeah, I did. Yes. I mean,
where is it leading you? Where do you see that it is leading you?
I mean, I think my understanding is that I'm being led to be a part of, in both, smaller and then simple and profound ways at the same time. I think that's how spirit works in our lives a lot, the goddess. And what I understand is that I'm being led in different ways to be a part of the change that's happening on the planet and in consciousness. And my formal role in that, as I've even explained just over the last couple of years, having opened my yoga studio and sort of done several different things and landed in a couple of different organizations, that I believe that I will continue doing all of these things to some extent, and that the shape of that is less important and more about, at my heart, for sure, I've been an activist for many years since college. I started, my initial, I guess, introduction to I mean, myself as a woman explicitly happened through feminism. And so at my heart, I think about, I'm a change maker. I'm definitely a person who is a woman who's committed to change. And I see that, I think my spiritual perspective has given me the understanding that all of the issues that I was initially an activist about are actually all really interconnected. So whether it's about women and children or about the environment, I mean, it really is all super connected. And so it's all about, you know, consciousness, and it's all about shifting the paradigm to the feminine. And it's all about, you know, bringing back all of these things that we all know and that we have forgotten and are now remembering. And so my role in that is to show up and serve as a, again, right now it's showing up as being a teacher and a translator in some ways of energy in the yoga room, and as a Reiki practitioner, for example. And I think those, like I said, those formal roles might change over time.
Well, that's good. That's great description, and I want to thank you for that. And part of the reason I wanted to ask you that is because, in a way, you are, in fact, I think you are the youngest person on this telesummit. And there's a lot of talk that goes around about, you know, because we're older women, and who are the young ones that are going to come and replace us? And you are one of the young ones that are coming to replace us. I mean, that's the truth. And probably some of your friends and your, you know, the people that you are teaching are coming up behind you. So I just want to let you know that I think that your statement was very succinctly and clearly stated, and that you have the ability to be clear, and you know, where you're going, you know, you don't really know at this point, but I'm glad to see that you sort of have a roadmap, that you know where you're walking down. And so I am going to make this short this evening because we do have enough technical difficulties, and I'm going to have to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to redo Vajra's part of this, and then I will put them together and make sure that we're able to have both of you on. I may have Breyn back on whenever her internet is working better, and the systems in the ether are working better. Kim Duckett said the other day, she says there's forces out there that don't want this to happen, and I'm trying not to give in to that, but sometimes it feels like it's true. Breyn has given us a very beautiful gift in the heart coherence, which she did at the beginning of the show, and she's also given us the recording of it, which will be available afterwards to anyone who wants it. You know, of course, I will put that out. And so tell us a little bit about what else you might be doing that we can be part of.
Great questions. Well, I think there are two main avenues for ways that I am existing outside of Bend, Oregon, which is where my yoga studio is. One of those is through Shakti Rising. ShaktiRising.org. I am an ongoing facilitator for them, particularly if you go to their website and look at Practical Alchemy. It's a master facilitator training program from the feminine, all about facilitating transformation for ourselves and for other people in our lives, no matter the content. And so I travel around with Shakti, and I'm one of the facilitators for that. You go all up and down the West Coast at this point, and one time I've made it to Cincinnati, Ohio. So we're starting to grow there. And then secondly, the awakenings of this, which is related to the heart coherence. I encourage you to check out heartmath.org. It's a great resource. And if you're interested, I'm not sure exactly how all of this is working, but if you're interested in a remote online Awakened Heart Healing workshop, either an introduction to it just for self-healing, or if you're interested in including Awakened Heart Healing into a healing practice that you already have for others, like if you're a practitioner and you're interested, then either email me or connect with me on Facebook, and I can tell you how to join in one of those remote trainings that will be starting in the fall.
Okay, well, I have given the people who are on the program right now the links to both Shakti Rising and HeartMath.org.
Awesome, thank you.
I've always found Howard Martin to be incredibly charismatic and interesting when I've heard him speak on HeartMath. Yeah, it is a marvelous program, and I've watched it grow over the years from something that was a very small program to something that I guess is now universal. Last I heard, they're teaching it in Malaysia or somewhere like that, Malaysia or Thailand.
Yeah, and I guess it's growing. It's going all over the world for sure. What I should say is I'm not formally a facilitator for HeartMath.org. But Awakened Heart Healing is actually a local healer here in Sisters, Oregon, who has brought together the principles and practices of HeartMath with energy and pranic healing and light energy healing, and he's kind of combined them to create a pretty profound and holistic way of healing trauma within the physical body, the mind, and the emotional body, and the spirit as well. And so, like I said, I just want to make clear I'm not directly affiliated with HeartMath.org, although that is an amazing resource, and Awakened Heart Healing is a little bit different, and it's local to Oregon at this point. So if both of those are different options.
Okay, well,
yeah.
I've put them all up there, and I will also give that information out to our members and to our membership is growing. I want to thank anyone who's a member who's persevered and come through on this tonight. The members, of course, get to watch the shows whenever they want, but we are growing. We've had 3 new members today and 4 new members yesterday, and so we're getting up there. And I think that it's going to be a wonderful community that we'll have an opportunity to do magic with. I mean, we're coming from all corners of the earth. We've got Australia, Chile, Switzerland, Sao Paulo, Brazil, all over North America, and we just got one from Hawaii. So we're knitting the grid together. So I want to thank you for being with me tonight, even with the technical difficulties, and tell you I will bring Vajra Ma on, and we will get her on for her interview as well. And we'll figure out how to do that. And I also want to thank Andrea because she's given us a great cyber spell, prayer that we can say. I call you great cyber ones, divine ones, bless this telesummit. Each passing minute by space, earth, fire, sea, charge it with your sacred power. As I will, so shall it be. Save this power, may it be power, blessed be. So that's come to us all the way from Maine. So from heart coherence to a chant at the end, we've had an interesting evening to not having internet in Bend and having programs down. We will be bringing, as I said, we'll be bringing Vajra Ma on one way or the other. I may have to interview her separately, but I will get that information to you. And if I can, I'll bring them back on together. We'll see how people's schedules go. I know that Breyn works most evenings, I believe, teaching yoga. I think that's what you told me before. So we do have Andrea Goodman and Laima Graham are going to be on Monday night, God is willing. Both of them are quite extraordinary. Andrea has the Ruby-Throated Spirit retreat in Maine. Laima Graham is in the Marin, Santa Rosa area, and she is a serpent priestess. And I have told her that she can bring her snake with her. And she said snakes. So it shall be an interesting evening between birds and snakes. Anyway, I want to thank you all for being here and putting up with the technical difficulties and let you know that, you know, I really do care about you, and I care about that you should get the best quality information possible. I want to thank Breyn for the fact that she was willing to sit in her car in what is undoubtedly a very hot day and to be able to be with us tonight and bring us these great gifts and her great beauty and joy and her heart coherence. So until we meet again, thank you so much, Breyn, and I hope to see you again soon. And for the rest of you, we'll be back definitely on Monday, and we'll let you know what we're doing about Vajra as soon as I get that one sorted out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you all so much for showing up and being here. Yeah.
Well, bye-bye. And this is Gloria Taylor Brown, and I want to welcome you to the second half of the Stepping Into Ourselves, the Gathering of Priestesses, number 11. Our guest today is Vajra Ma, and she says it a little different than I do, so we're going to let her tell us how to say that. You know, I have a Southern Oklahoma accent that gets in the way of most things. So she has been... Say it again?
Said it just right.
Oh, okay, good. And so she's been teaching since 1986, and she does Women's Mysteries of the Ancient Future Sisterhood. Ooh, that sounds juicy. You're going to have to tell us more about that. A modern mystery school and priestess lineage based on the devotional moving meditation she originated, the tantric dance of feminine power, the womb-sourced yoga of feminine wisdom. She is a dancer, an actress. She's been on stage. I know that she just did a play in the town where she lives, and I think you had a 3-weekend run of that or something like that, and it was apparently quite good because I've heard about it from other people. See, I listen to other people too. And anyway, I want to welcome you, and I want to also say that she has been absolutely beautiful about the fact that last night we had technical snafus that caused her to not be able to get on, and she didn't lose her cool, and she didn't start screaming at me, and she didn't say that the world is coming to an end. She just says, well, we can reschedule. So here we are, and I want to welcome you. I want to welcome everybody who's managed to get here this afternoon/evening, wherever you may be. One of the things, by the way, you're going to get is an email which is going to ask you the question, what day is best for you? Because as we go forward past August 1st, we'll be doing a weekly show, and I do want to know what day is the best for you to have a show. Now, if the answers come back all over the place, then I'm just going to choose the day that's most convenient for me. But if everybody comes in with 1 or 2 particular days, I'll make a choice based on that. And we are part of Stepping Into Ourselves, an anthology of writings on priestesses, which was published by Goddess Inc. That's goddess-inc.com. And please buy the book. Not that we make any money from you buying the book, but it would be nice. And I do want to welcome Vajra and Vajra. So the question is, and the question we always start with is, what drew you to the path of the priestess?
Okay, and first I'd like to say thank you, Gloria, for doing this. This is a huge amount of work, and it's such a service to the community and to women's empowerment. And I'm also grateful to Anne Key and Candace Kant for stepping into ourselves. The anthology is a massive undertaking, and it's quite an extraordinary compilation of diversity of powers and perspectives and knowledge and facts. What drew me to the priestess path was the body moment. That's how I stepped onto the feminist path to begin with, and the priest and the goddess path. They all came together at once for me when I was around 36 years old, 35, 36, in 1986. And I was just waking up to the powers of the subtle body. And then I was also discovering the goddess path through books and through interactions with other women and rituals that I started to gain. The whole new world that opened up. I was studying continuum, which is an internal movement process that's worldwide now. It's founded by Emily Conrad Dowd, and I studied with Susan Harper, her very close associate, for about a year and a half. Around the same time, I also studied a moving meditation experiment with Gina Reno, who was a Middle Eastern dance teacher, who started experimenting with what she called tantric dance and with a guide of her tutelage of her male shaman guide. And she was working with women to help us find how we could hold more energy in our bodies and move more refinedly, and hold higher frequencies in the body. So all this came together while I discovered the goddess path. And I started having spontaneous experiences, particularly in continuum class, of energies that I could recognize the signature of a particular goddess. For instance, Yemayal, when I was looking at the wave pattern in the body. And this is very subtle work that you do in continuum. And I began to make sounds, and the sound was yeah, ma, yeah. I didn't know it was Yemayal until I started becoming more rapid. And I could feel this. I felt like I was experiencing the direct essence of what Yemayal and who she is. And this happened with various goddesses. So for me, stepping onto the priestess path was about wanting to share that joining, that synergy between these deep, subtle body experiences, this body knowing, with the knowledge I was getting through the books and the experiences I was having in ritual, and to bring the potency of those direct experiences through the body in ritual. So I started doing the ritual with them. My roommates started doing it, started doing moon circles, and they still lost interest, but I didn't. I kept going. And then I started focusing on individual goddesses and following the circle, and I did about 20 women together, and we would experience, we learn about her. I would study and research for about 40 hours about her. I could find some before the internet, just before I was on the internet, and getting every piece I could out of every book I could, and drenching myself with the knowledge and the powers and the history and the mythology and the iconography and images of that particular goddess. And then writing a guided journey that we did lying down, and then taking it into a free-form dance and movement cycle. And because we were saturated and we paid honoring to that goddess, I learned about her by speaking of her, that invoked her and evoked her from our bodies. Evoke is from within, and invoke is all down and around. And we started having these profound experiences. And that's when I first felt what I came to call the ancient future sisterhood. I could hear, as we would be in circle, one woman would go into the center of the circle, and we'd all be in silence and stillness, and let her start in stillness and silence, without any agenda, but just totally receptive. And as she began to move or sound, we would just accompany her by feeling and holding the field with her. And we never dictated anything to her. We brought in the drums and rattles and bells, came into it, and our voices. It was always feed into her, what her experience was. This created this incredible unified field of collective knowledge, of a deep, deep collective mind, body mind. And I would start to hear, in my inner ear, I say inside, I could hear tribes of women around us. I could hear the voices of women, or spirits from the earth. And when I would sound that into the circle, everything would electrify and change. It brought through, it was like a sound portal between worlds, and the knowledge woke up, and everything just amped up that much more. So that's what drew me to a long answer. And I've never actually answered that question, or even asked that particular question. So this was not a canned thing, but this is really what drew me to the priestess path. Like, wanting to share the experiences I was having. Nobody else was providing that subtle body experience and body knowing in ritual focused on the goddess. So I had to provide it myself, and that's how my priestesses started.
About that time, I was deeply involved in dream workshops and leading dream workshops and also taking dream workshops, primarily Jungian. And I had a dream one night that I was in this place where I was leading women into these series of rocks, and they were very high rocks, so you couldn't see what was next. And as you walked into the rocks, you finally came into the center space. And in the center space, there was drums and rattles and everything there, and the women would go and pick up the drums and the rattles. And at the center space, at the center of this space, there was a fire. And the fire began to spiral up and up and up to the full moon. And as it spiraled up to the full moon, it was like a set of stairs stepped down from the moon, and this lady walked down the moon from the moon. And at that time, I got a really strong message that I was here to bring the women back to the goddess. And the dream was so strong that it became the basis for an entire body of work called the Goddess Initiations that I did at that time. But it was like you're talking about, this embodying. It was like it was more than just experiencing the goddess as something out there or as a statue or even as an energy. It was experiencing the goddess as in here, as part of me, that required a sound, a movement, of facilitation that would, so that her hands could touch and her lips could taste, and that as we move forward, we were the goddess, and that was her way of experiencing us here on earth. And that was a totally new experience for me at the time, and I think it took me about 2 or 3 years to actually assimilate and integrate that vision that I had at that time. And so I know where you're talking about, and I was involved with, oh, my brain just went dead, last name Roth, that did, yes, yeah, that did the movements. And so, you know, it was, how do you bring it into your body and still be you? And I'm going to ask you that question now. You're saying you know, and we may have some people here who are actually in the position that I was in back then, where how do I bring this into my body? How do I express this and still be me?
Really good question. And I would start by saying my experience with subtle body work is we don't bring anything into our body. Mm-hmm. We feel the body, it's there. It is encoded in the body. We are the manifestation of the goddess. And woman in a more particular and fuller way than men, because we have the womb and the whole way our psyche is structured down to the cellular level, physiologically and psychically. So it's a matter of, the other thing that comes to mind is the primary teaching of authentic Tantra, and I'm not talking about neo-Tantra, you know, intimacy and relationships and all this stuff that's going around in the Western arena these days, with this sort of dumbing down of Tantra, because Tantra is about understanding the layers of consciousness of the human experience and the universe. And the primary teaching is, the goddess says, I am your innermost self. Mm. So, and it's just like she's divided into these many forms to experience herself, like you said. So we could, you know, she can have hands and eyes and taste, and she does it for the animals, she does it for the planets, she does it for human beings. But our innermost self is her, so there is no separation. And yet at the same time, and this is the paradox of being human, and this is the beauty of it, because there is no paradox in the body. You experience yourself fully in these subtle energies and in the ritual work, and yet the more fully you feel yourself, the more you are the goddess in all of her forms, in her wrath, the protective, wrathful forms, her compassion, her motherly aspects, her erotic aspects, all of these multi-dimensional and multi-layered experiences. And I think that as human beings, and this has been my experience in the tantric dance of feminine power over the years, I used to dance kind of reaching out, oh, Tara, because Tara is one of the goddesses I have a strong affinity with. Tara, and I would call from my heart, and there would be a prayer in my heart. But more and more, it just naturally became, oh, Tara, inside my heart. And then I am Tara. And so there's, as human beings, we need to call out to a mother or a being to help us, and we also need to awaken that within us. We do both. Sometimes Starhawk talks about that. Sometimes I call out to mother, and sometimes I am her. And so we can live both of them completely valid. And yeah, so that's how I have experienced it. There's no separation. And that becomes more and more real.
So, in your experience, you have worked through, it sounds like, a number of these goddesses, and you have found the resonance within yourself of different goddesses. Yet, we all know it's all part of the goddess, the one who expresses herself through 1,000 different names, as it says. And I think it's probably more than 1,000 if we sat and counted. But for someone who is just beginning to see this as an opportunity and a path for themselves, what advice do you offer to them to go from that, oh my goddess, to oh my goddess, that might help them move into that space?
What a beautiful question, and what a really useful question. You just did it with your hands down in the grip. But the work that I do begins in the womb. The tantric dance of feminine power, this subtle body and moving meditation, is sourced from the womb. And the more that a woman, I would say to women beginning, to just sit, be quiet, and breathe into your womb. And even if you've had a hysterectomy, you still have the energetic imprint of the womb. You're not left out. And breathe into the womb and offer reverence to it, and a sense of awe for the power that is enfolded in us to be able to create life. And then to breathe every month, to get in tune. If you're still bleeding, you're still in your menstrual cycle, to get in tune with that, and to not negate it, but to slow down and try to get in sync with it when it comes, and to honor it. That'll get rid of your cramps. That's what did it for me. I can't guarantee that, but I mean, that's the place to begin. To fully sit. In the tantric teachings, the seat of power, the seat of the goddess, is in the cervix, the mouth of the womb. And the seat of the goddess is there. That is the source, and that is the portal. We have that enfolded in our bodies. So that great cosmic womb that's created everything, and is creating everything, and which we are a part of, and is continually creating, we have that enfolded in microcosm in our bodies. And that is utterly amazing to me. And so for a woman to start at the center, start at the beginning, start at the core. Why start anywhere else? Start with the womb. And just do it. And that's what the free gift is going to be that I'm offering on the show today, is the womb heart meditation.
Lovely.
I have guided 20-minute womb heart meditation. You can use that, or you can just sit and always find your own experience.
Mhm.
by being present.
You know, I was just thinking, I can't pull it down off the wall. I have Newt back here, which is the Milky Way. And the Milky Way, if you can lay under it, particularly around this time of the year, you can see that it is a woman. And in her womb, it is empty until right about August 2nd, when Venus becomes a star in the womb of the Milky Way. And it is the seed of the birth of us going forward. And in the Egyptian tradition, it was seen as that was when the gods and goddesses were born. They were born from the womb of the Milky Way, which they were called, the mother goddess, the Newt. And I was just thinking of that imagery and the idea that we can see it in this, and particularly up there where you are. Part of the reason I was thinking about it is because one of my most incredible experiences with it was up in Oregon, because there you're at the 45th parallel, and it's absolutely perfectly laying over your head. And
it is gorgeous.
Yeah, and there's not that much light in the area where you are, so that you can't see the stars. And you can just see this beautiful woman laying up there with her arms up in the air and her legs out. And around August 2nd, you'll see this bright, bright star, which is actually a planet, that comes into the middle of her womb and is the birth, the moment of birth, and that is later birthed in the spring. And so we have this opportunity to see it not very often in our Western world, where we have way too many lights. And that I was just thinking about that. And I was thinking about that, and one of the things to do is to think of the idea, and this is the idea that comes from the Emerald Tablets, as above, so below. And the idea that we are integral with the stars, the moon, the planet, that we are not separate from it. We are not separate from it. We are a part of it. And that was what I was getting from what you were saying there. And I'd like you to comment on that. You can disagree with me, by the way.
We are not separate, and as above, so below. You relates, as you were saying, to the stars, the cosmos, and the earth, and the cosmos and us. Also in the body, as above, so below. The upper orb of consciousness and the lower orb of consciousness, the pelvis, the upper heart and the womb are analogous. They both pump blood. They're hollow organs, and they pump blood. And that's why the connection between the heart and womb is so important in women. The throat and vagina, as above, so below. The upper lips, the lower lips, and so forth. So there's that cosmological truth, as above, so below, is also enfolded right into our own bodies. And I love that you shared that about the Milky Way, because I did not know that. And August 2nd is coming right up. I'm going to be out there laying there looking up, because we have a glorious view of the Milky Way on our land here. We're away from the city entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do hold retreats here, gatherings. It's so important to be able to be on the land and to feel that, as above, so below, to feel that connection with the cosmos, with the stars.
Yeah, I've done many retreats in Eugene, so which is a little further north from you. Problem in Eugene is quite frequently, huh?
It's my hometown, Eugene.
Oh, okay. Well, my problem with Eugene is quite frequently there's too much overcast from them burning fields at that time of the year. In fact, I just got choked up thinking about it. The last time I was there, they were burning the fields. Yeah. But it is, when we talk about these things, we are talking not only about out there, we're talking about in here. And how do we take this part of us that is sacred, and then how do we express it in the world? How do we step into our own selves? I mean, this is part of what we're talking about here, is how do we step into ourselves? How do we become who we have the opportunity to be?
I think that the key to that is desire. Desire has gotten a really bad rap in patriarchal religion. But in Tantra and in the goddess, the matriarchal tribal knowledge of the goddess, desire is the root of everything. Desire is what makes everything move. And nothing happens without desire. Desire is not the same as loss. Desire brought us here to this encounter right now. Desire brought women to listen and to witness. Desire is why we walk across a room, why we wake up, why we go to sleep. Desire is in everything, and so it's not something. Even stepping into ourselves implies, and this is very true, that we're not in ourselves. We have been so separated, we've been so enculturated to negate who we really are. That's the whole essence of patriarchy, is separation. And so really the only way to step into ourselves is to sit in ourselves and to feel the desire that's there. That's the seed of our action in the world. It's not something that's going to come from outside. It's not something that isn't within us already. The desire. What do we desire to do? And, follow your bliss, said Joseph Campbell. And that's true. We have the desire in the depths of our hearts, so we just need to sit still and listen. And for women, even deeper down into the womb, we can birth that desire. So whatever turns you on, that's what I did. I just got so turned on by what I was discovering in the body, the subtle body experiences, and the knowledge that was up there, and then sharing it with women. And that's how, like I said before, I got onto the Priestess path. And women today, the world needs us. Desperately needs women to wake up and follow our true desires. And as a collective, I really do believe that the only way the world is going to be saved from the ravages that we've been trading in human centuries is for women to wake up, a critical mass of women to wake up. And the way to wake up, step into ourselves, do what our life purpose is in the world, give our gift, which is unique for every person. The only way to do it is to come from within, is to connect, reconnect wherever we've been disconnected. And as women, we're chronically bombarded by society to disconnect from our pleasure, the innocence of our pleasure, from our root, from our bodies, as sovereign, as a sovereign place to be. Our bodies are objectified, they're ridiculed, they're used, they're abused, they're in danger. Just walking down the street, going to sleep at night, they're in danger. They live in a really horrific, twisted, patriarchal paradigm, where in reality our bodies are sacred, as you were saying, and we need to reconnect, really reconnect, and give the time to do that, to sit in stillness with our womb, with our heart, and let the seed of desire sprout and just follow.
I really want to support the idea of letting it happen instead of making it happen. There is a dichotomy there, and particularly in our country, where it's like, I am going to make this happen. I don't care who gets in my way. I am determined this is going to be so. And the problem is that from that space, we frequently make something happen that really wasn't what we intended. I mean, the law of unintended circumstances. And the receptivity of letting something happen, saying, you know, I am in service, I am here, I am present, I am willing to be a vessel, is a completely different attitude, and one that I think partly comes natural to women because we are a vessel, and partly is very suppressed. That, you know, from a very early age we learn you've got to have goals, and your goals have to have dates, and you've got to, you know, have a list of things you're going to accomplish, and by the way, while you're at it, get a PhD and a DD and a you know, whatever else that you're supposed to get. And those things sometimes get in the way of what it feels like you should be doing. I mean, I shouldn't say should, but what who you are. It's like there's a veil or that comes across you, and you can't see yourself anymore. And I think that allowing yourself to be of service and allowing yourself to be the vessel is one of those things that all women have to find for themselves, whether they have children or not. It has nothing to do with having children, because we are the creator in the sense that there is nothing created if we don't create it. You know, we are the ones that are carrying the genes forward to make the next generation. And I think that space for allowing it to happen is something that needs to be supported, and I'd like to hear your comments on that.
That is one of the main keys to Tantra dance of feminine power, is receptivity.
Mm-hmm.
And not imposing anything, but trusting. And in the practice that we do, you always come to the point of pleasure. Whether that's simple pleasure, whether the pleasure of just feeling the breath,
mm-hmm.
comes through your nostrils into your body. The pleasure of the movement of your arm. You know, it's not just sexual pleasure. But sexual pleasure is a part of it, because we take the whole tamale in this practice, because woman is multidimensional. And so the receptivity is extremely important, and that's what I'm talking about. That's sitting in the seat of the goddess, sitting in the room, being with your desire. The imposition that you're talking about is so important. You know, to get over this mental imposition on our lives of doing the goals, and has a timeline and this and that. The way, and when the chapter that I have in Stepping into Ourselves, the title of the chapter is "My Body." The body is my Bible. And what has happened in patriarchy is there has been an agenda and a separation set by the holy books, mm-hmm. which set the rules and set the confinement. And Leonard Schlein, and this is all related to what you're saying, mm-hmm. Leonard Schlein, in his book, The Alphabet and the Versus the Goddess, documented that when a book on writing comes into the fore in a culture, women's freedom and women's creativity, not creativity, women's freedom, and their status in society diminishes. And that's what happens in patriarchy. That women, the original sacred text is the female one. That's the original sacred text, and Tantra is never performed. And so when you then impose over that the written word, mm-hmm. and it gets connected into the left brain, goes from the left brain instead of the right brain, which is images and feeling and emotion and physicality, then you have a split happening. And you have the left brain dominating over the right. You have the domination of mental thought. You have the goals. You have the rules. You have the regulations. and you have the diminishment of the body, and you have the demonization of the body. And that's this book experienced over the centuries, the demonization of the flesh in the women's bodies. You see it in Christianity, you see it in Judaism, you see it in Islam, and in all of those religions, there are people who live in love. The love is at the core of those religions. If they live from the core.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not demonizing the people who walk those paths in sincerity and humility and trust. But as a conglomeration of thought form and written code, they have pretty much reached massive destruction on the planet and nailed it tight by taking us away from the body, by taking us away from the receptivity, the receptivity to nature, to beauty, to each other, to women with our own bloods. We're trained to not be receptive. That it's just a nuisance at first, something to get rid of. Take Seasonique, the pill, and only have four periods a year. What a horrible thought. Once you know the power of connecting to the shamanic descent with life. So the receptivity is absolutely key, and receptivity requires trust and requires letting go of control. And the book, the written book, the holy book, is about control. Trying to codify, trying to make it a neat, tidy rule. Because why? Because at some level, there's a deep fear of life, a deep fear, existential fear. And we all have it. I think that we all have it. And we need to meet it with trust and surrender and humility. And so that's my take on the receptivity. It is the core of the practice that I do that wakes up this deep knowing in the body. The other main element is devotion, reverence, humility, reverence, a sense of awe. That is absolutely central to being free, to being a free human being. You don't need a book to be reverent. It's direct experience. And we need receptivity and trust to have that direct experience. That's what I'd like to share with women. Wake up within yourselves. Wake up within this pleasure that is your body. Sit with the portal between the worlds and let it speak to you. I like giving this analogy where when they do organ transplants with people, somebody gets a liver, and somebody who never drank, but this person who gets the liver used to drink. Also, this person who gets this liver transplant, this person who didn't drink, they don't like beer anymore, whatever it was. Or they get a heart transplant, and they never had any real rhythm, they couldn't dance. All of a sudden, they had good rhythm, and they're a better dancer. These are real experiences that people have had with transplants. Every organ has its own knowledge, its own powers. The heart, the liver, the womb. And then in each individual, it has its own powers and proclivities and characteristics and personality. And so we have the cosmic womb of the universe enfolded in our bodies, the power of the womb. Just to sit with that and be receptive to that and honor that and let your womb breathe and let your heart open to that. That's where women's power is. That's the original sacred text. You need to reclaim that. You need to live in it. And that's what I'd like to bring the priestess in the 21st century is the subtle body experiences. We've all experienced the subtle energies when we feel an emotion, like somebody hugs us and we feel a flush of warmth go through our body. Or we feel, walk into a room and we feel like, oh, I don't feel right here. I don't say that's subtle. That's the subtle body energy. And what we learn to do in the practice that I teach is to stay with those subtle energies, subtle sensations, and they actually unfold into the powers of the gods. With deep spiritual understanding, deep comfort, also a transmutation of the 50 emotions of grief, of anger, of fear. All of this can be included, but it gets transmuted as we stay in pleasure and in reverence. This incredible alchemical thing happens. And I've been doing this for 25 years, and there's no end to it. There's no end to us. You were saying, the cosmos are not suffering. It's all encoded within us. So it's the receptivity is absolutely key.
So, as a priestess and as a teacher, what do you see for yourself going forward? What is your, you're doing retreats, you're doing classes. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
I've gotten more into writing because I want to reach more women. I continue to teach the moving meditation practice, the comprehensive feminine power. I really believe that one by one we wake up, right? And but then I write because I can reach more women, and at that level, through writing. It's a good question. I feel I'm getting more and more connected to the land because I've been living in Southern Oregon now on 15 acres, beautiful land in forest and meadow, and something is happening and I can't quite put words to it. But that's why I want to bring women to the land and experience these women's mysteries in the context, in the surroundings of the water, the air, and the night sky. And I don't have goals, right? I don't have goals. But actually, and I've gotten back onto the stage recently, and because the trip to Africa that I did, that we spoke about earlier, to play, and I have a desire to re-blossom in that arena and bring the riches that I've experienced over the years through my own body knowledge, through the knowledge of the goddess, without being preachy, but to bring that to the stage. And I do have a one-woman version of Medea that I wrote here as well. I consider that part of my Priestess book because it touches the soul. So the theater for me is about being able to be deeply intimate with the audience and being as huge as we really are. By having that privacy, they sit there, I'm on the stage, and we're communing these deep subterranean levels where the heart is totally open. Can become totally open. And we can share that collective body mind the same way that we do in the rituals I was describing to you at the beginning, and what you were describing in your experience in the rocks. So that's part of the next era of my priestesses.
Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you and learn more from you, you have a website, which is greatgoddess.org. Am I correct? Yeah.
.org. Yep, you can remember that one.
And yeah, and we do have a gift from Vajra, which is a 2-part heart meditation, which she has gifted us with, which is available. And she also has is that a new book from a hidden stream?
2010.
2010, okay. But it is The Natural Spiritual Authority of Women, a primer for the future of humanity. And she's received some very, very good reviews on it, including one from a friend of mine, Ava Park, who has the Goddess Temple in Orange County. She says, this book is a condensed Bible for women and men. Best piece of pithy brilliant writing ever. Required reading for all priestesses of the Goddess Temple of Orange County and given to all of my counseling clients. Thank you, Vajra Ma, for this great gift of divine intelligence to the world. That's heavy. That's a really nice review. And will send out the information whenever I send out the link to the website for people to get this book and also to get their free gifts. And I would like you to, keep in touch because, by the way, do you know Reverend Ione in New York?
I don't. I just read her chapter just the other day, oddly enough.
You should meet her. She's in the process of writing an opera, and she's very involved with the theater. And I think that I don't know if Andrea Goodman is on here or not. She'll be on the show Monday night, but she's one of her the people that works with her. And yeah. And so, yeah, she's got some really interesting things going on that I think you would be one of my goals here is, so many of these priestesses didn't know each other. Yeah, and I'm talking about the ones in the book. They had no idea. I've talked to so many. It's like, oh, your work is very similar, or you're doing something along the same lines of so-and-so. I've never heard of her. So, or I never heard of her before she was in the book with me. So anyway, but as I was listening to you, I was really got the hit that you should meet Reverend Ione. You would love her, and she has a very similar way of being in the world that you two would enjoy each other, I think. And anyway, we are coming to the end, and much as I would hate to end this conversation, you have been fabulous. I thank you again for your clear-headedness and your clear answers and your ability to be present and to deal with whatever comes up. One of the things about being a priestess, sometimes you don't know what you're going to have to deal with, and you just deal with it.
You beautifully, Gloria. I want to thank you how you dealt with it.
Yeah. So, as we're coming into the end of this show, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone, of course, who's on the line, who's listening to us and watching us, and everybody who will be watching us. We're getting to the point where we're having quite a few viewers after the show, well over 100, and which is very good, and hopefully we'll get more and more as we go along. I do want you to let you know that on Monday night we will be having, let me see, Andrea Goodman and Laima Graham. And Laima is a snake priestess, and I have said she could bring her snake with her, and she said snakes. I don't know. We'll see what she shows up with. I went to Egypt with Laima, so I've known her quite some time. And Andrea is a new friend, but she's quite brilliant. She has the Ruby Throated Retreat Center in Maine. So we're going to have California and Maine on Monday night. There should be quite a dichotomy. Anyway, I really do appreciate everybody who shows up, whether they watch us later, whether they're a member watching us sometime in the future, or somebody who's watching us right now. You make it possible. Without you, we wouldn't be here. And this is our opportunity to offer back to you and to ask you to be part of our group, to be part of the gathering of priestesses. This is not about just the people who are appearing on the show. It's about you as well. So please join with us, because as Vajra said, if we as women don't step up and start changing things, I don't know if this is going to be the world you want your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren to live in. We have to take control. If not control, we have to take our place in society, a responsible place, so that, people are doing the things that are necessary in order that our body, which we live on, can survive, whether it's this body or the body we stand on. I do believe that we need to do that. And I want to, say that that is something that's important, not only to me, but to you as well. So thank you very much. And Vajra, do you have any last words you'd like to say before we go?
I just really appreciate everyone who's here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the end of the event tonight. We will be back on Monday night, and we hope you'll join us. Thank you very much, and good night.